A woman entered Padre Pio's confessional booth, and before she could utter a single word, he stopped her dead in her tracks with a question that sent a chill down her spine. "What did you say to your son last night?" The woman visibly paled. The night before, in a moment of uncontrollable rage, she had unleashed words upon her teenage son that she could never take back. Words of condemnation, words laced with ill will, words that escaped her lips before she could even think. Padre Pio didn't need her confession. He already knew, and what he revealed about the spiritual power of a mother's words, especially words of a curse spoken in anger, would forever change the way that woman spoke to her children. And it may change the way you speak to yours as well. Padre Pio perceived the spiritual realm in a way that few could comprehend. He saw people's souls as clearly as one sees their faces. And he also saw the devastating effects of words. Not just the emotional impact, which we can all perceive, but the spiritual effects, invisible to the naked eye, but terrifyingly real. He taught that words have power. This isn't just some metaphored words, especially words spoken with intense emotion, especially words spoken by those in positions of authority over us. Create spiritual realities. They can bless or they can curse. They can heal or they can wound. They can liberate or they can imprison. And no one wields more authority over a child than their own mother. Padre Pio had witnessed this countless times throughout his ministry. Children who blossomed into healthy and strong individuals because they were surrounded by words of love and affirmation, and children who carried invisible wounds, wounds etched deep within their souls, inflicted by words that should never have been spoken. He often spoke of a young boy he'd encountered as a young priest. The boy had a sparkle in his eyes, a natural joy, an undeniable potential. But his mother, a woman embittered by life's hardships, constantly belittled him. "You're good for nothing," she'd say. "You're an embarrassment. I should have had a daughter." Years later, Padre Pio encountered that boy again, now a man. The sparkle in his eyes had vanished, the joy had been extinguished, and despite possessing undeniable talents, he lived a life far below his capabilities. His mother's words had become his reality. Padre Pio wept at the sight of what had become of him, and from that day forward, he made teaching about the power of words a central pillar of his ministry. He needed to warn mothers. He needed to heal wounded children. He needed to break the cycles of curses that he witnessed tearing families apart. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover what Padre Pio revealed about the power of a mother's words. What happens when a mother curses her children, even unintentionally, and how to repair the damage caused by words spoken in a fit of anger. Padre Pio explained that there's a crucial difference between criticism and a curse. Criticism points out a wrong behavior. You did something wrong. That wasn't good. You need to improve. Criticism, even when harsh, focuses on the action, not the person. A curse is different. A curse attacks the person, not the behavior. You're useless. You'll never amount to anything in life. I wish you were never born. You're just like your good-for-nothing father. These words, Padre Pio taught, aren't just insults. They are curses, and curses possess spiritual power. He recounted the story of a young woman who came to San Giovanni Rotondo, suffering from a depression that defied all treatment. Doctors had tried everything. Therapists had delved into her past, but nothing seemed to work. The inner darkness persisted. Padre Pio listened to her confession and then asked a strange question. "What did your mother say to you when you were a child?" The young woman began to recount the verbal abuse. Her mother, a good woman at heart but with a terrible temper, had a habit of saying horrible things in moments of rage. "You're a disgrace. You ruin everything. You'll end up alone and miserable." Padre Pio stopped her. "Those words are etched into your soul. They have become curses that you've carried for years, and unless they are broken, no treatment will fully succeed. That revelation marked the beginning of her healing. Padre Pio guided her through a process of liberation from her mother's curses, and the depression that had resisted all other forms of treatment began to recede. Padre Pio shared that cases like hers were far more common than people realized. He constantly encountered individuals grappling with emotional, psychological, and even physical ailments whose root cause lay in the curses they had received in childhood. Doctors treated the symptoms, but failed to address the underlying spiritual cause. This isn't to say that every problem stems from curses. Many have natural causes that require natural remedies. But when conventional treatments fall short, when there's an inexplicable persistence of symptoms, it's worth investigating whether there's a spiritual dimension at play. It wasn't magic. It was the removal of a spiritual cause that had gone unidentified. Padre Pio explained that words are like seeds planted in the soul. Positive words are seeds of flowers. They grow, they blossom, and they bear good fruit. Negative words are seeds of weeds. They also grow, they also multiply, and they suffocate everything good. When a mother tells her child, "You're smart," she plants a seed of intelligence. The child begins to see themselves as intelligent, acts intelligently, seeks to develop their intelligence. The word becomes reality. But when a mother says, "You're stupid," she plants a seed of stupidity. The child begins to see themselves as stupid, stops trying, avoids challenges, fulfills the prophecy their mother made about them. Padre Pio saw this with mystical clarity. He saw the words being planted. He saw the seeds germinating. He saw the plants growing, for good or for evil. And he saw how difficult it was to uproot a weed that had taken deep root over the course of years. That's why he insisted so vehemently on prevention. It was far easier to avoid planting the bad seed than to uproot it later. It was far easier to bless from the beginning than to have to undo curses years down the road. Padre Pio explained that a mother's words possess a special power because of the unique bond between mother and child. This bond begins in the womb, where the child literally lives inside the mother, nourished by her body, connected by her blood. And this bond doesn't break at birth. It continues, in a spiritual sense, throughout life. Because of this bond, a mother's words penetrate more deeply into a child's soul than the words of anyone else. A mother's blessings are especially powerful, and so are her curses. Padre Pio told a story about a successful businessman who, despite all his outward achievements, constantly felt inadequate. It was never enough. He always felt like he was going to fail. He lived with an anxiety that no achievement could alleviate. When they investigated his past with Padre Pio, they discovered that his mother, frustrated with her own life, had a habit of negatively comparing him to other children. "You'll never be as good as the neighbor's son. Why can't you be like the other boys? You're always going to be a failure." These words, spoken decades ago, still echoed in that man's soul. They had become an internal programming that contradicted all evidence of success. He was objectively successful, but subjectively, he felt like a failure because his mother's words had created that spiritual reality. Hold on, because now I'm going to explain the different types of curses that Padre Pio identified in parents' words. The first type is the curse of identity. These are words that define who the child is, not what they did. You're stupid. You're ugly. You're worthless. You're bad. These words create a negative identity that the child internalizes and carries throughout their life. Padre Pio saw people who struggled against these false identities, intelligent adults who thought they were stupid because their mother said so when they were children. beautiful people who saw themselves as ugly, talented people who felt worthless. The curse of identity had replaced the truth with a lie. The second type is the curse of destiny. These are words that prophesy a negative future. You're going to end up in the gutter. You'll never amount to anything. You're going to be abandoned, like your father abandoned me. No one will ever love you. These words, Padre Pio explained, have a perverse prophetic power, because when a child hears their mother say what's going to happen to them, that child tends to fulfill the prophecy, not because destiny was written, but because the curse created an expectation that became reality. The third type is the curse of rejection. These are words that communicate that the child is not wanted. I wish you had never been born. You ruined my life. I don't love you anymore. You're not my child anymore. Padre Pio saw adults devastated by these words. Even decades later, the wound of maternal rejection is one of the deepest that exists. And when it's expressed in words, the wound turns into an active curse. The fourth type is the curse of comparison. These are words that diminish the child by comparing them negatively with others. Why can't you be like your brother? The neighbor's daughter is so much better than you. I wish I had a child like that one. These words create a wound of inadequacy that haunts the person throughout their life. No matter what they achieve, it will never be enough. There will always be someone better. The curse of comparison robs the ability to feel satisfied with oneself. Padre Pio also identified veiled curses, which are equally powerful, but less obvious. These are expressions like, "You're always like this. You never change. I don't know why I even try. You always disappoint me." These phrases seem less serious, but Padre Pio saw that they had the same spiritual effect. They define, they prophesy, they reject. They are curses disguised as exasperation. Padre Pio also warned about silent curses. Not all curses are verbal. Sometimes a sigh of repeated disappointment can communicate rejection as clearly as words. A look of contempt can hurt as deeply as an insult. A comparison made only with the eyes can be as destructive as one made with words. There was a mother who came to Padre Pio, swearing that she had never said anything negative to her children. She always watched her words. She never swore. She never yelled. Padre Pio listened to her and then asked, "And what do your eyes say when you are disappointed?" The woman was silent. She didn't yell. That's true. But her look of disappointment was devastating. Her children knew exactly when she was disappointed, even without words. And that look, repeated over the years, had the same effect of a curse that words would have. Padre Pio instructed her to work also on nonverbal communication, to bless, not only with her mouth, but with her eyes, with her touch, with her presence. The child perceives everything, and everything can bless or curse. Another type of silent curse is absence. The mother who is never present, who never listens, who never participates. This absence communicates a clear message. You are not important enough for me to be here. Padre Pio saw adults who carried this wound of absence. They had never heard insults, but they had also never heard, "I love you." They had never been rejected in words, but they had also never been affirmed. The absence of blessing can be as damaging as the presence of a curse. There was a mother who came to Padre Pio, tormented by guilt. She had just realized how much harm her words had caused her children over the years. She had said terrible things in moments of anger, things that she now saw as curses. Padre Pio listened to her with compassion. He didn't condemn her. He knew that most mothers who curse their children don't do it out of malice. They do it out of weakness, out of exhaustion, out of unhealed wounds that overflow onto the children. But he also didn't minimize it. The words were said, he said, and they had an effect. Now we need to work to undo that effect. And then Padre Pio taught her a process of reparation that I'm going to share with you now. The first step is recognition. The mother needs to recognize before God that her words were curses. It's no use minimizing or justifying. I was tired. He deserved it. Everyone talks like that. These justifications prevent healing. It is necessary to say, I cursed my child with my words. This was a serious sin. The second step is sacramental confession. Padre Pio insisted that curses spoken over children must be confessed to a priest, not just mentioned as, I said bad things, but confessed specifically. I told my son that he was worthless. I told my daughter that she would never be loved. The sacrament of confession has the power to break curses. The third step is asking the child for forgiveness. This must be done personally, looking into the child's eyes, without excuses or justifications. I said terrible things to you. These words were lies. They don't define who you are. I ask for your forgiveness for having said that. Padre Pio warned that this step can be painful. The child may not forgive immediately. They may react with anger, with tears, with accusations. The mother must receive this with humility. She caused the wound. Now she needs to allow the child to express the pain. The fourth step is conscious blessing. After breaking the curses, the mother must replace them with blessings, and not generic blessings, specific blessings that contradict each curse spoken. If someone has said you're dumb, now you must say, I bless your intelligence. God made you intelligent and capable. If they said you'll never amount to anything, now you must say, I bless your future. God has wonderful plans for your life. If they said, I wish you hadn't been born, now you must say, I bless your existence. You are a gift from God to me. These blessings should be said repeatedly, not just once. The curses were said many times over the years. The blessings need to be said even more times to overlap and erase the effect of the curses. The fifth step is a prayer of liberation. Padre Pio advised mothers to pray specifically for their children's liberation from the curses they themselves had spoken. One prayer he suggested was this: Lord Jesus, I have sinned against my child with my words. I have pronounced curses upon him or her that should never have been said. In your name, I break now every curse that has come out of my mouth. I command these words to lose all power over his or her life, and I ask that your blessing replace every curse that I have pronounced. Amen. This prayer, Padre Pio taught, should be said daily until the mother notices changes in her child. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes months, but if it is done with faith and persistence, it will produce fruit. Padre Pio also spoke to the victims of maternal curses, to the adults who carried decades of negative words in their souls. He said that forgiveness is essential, not because the mother deserves it, maybe she doesn't, but because forgiveness is the key that opens the prison. As long as you hold resentment, the curses continue to have power over you. When you forgive, that power is broken. There was a middle-aged man who could not forgive his mother. She had been cruel, had said unforgivable things. He had every right to be angry. Padre Pio listened to his story and said, "You are right, she was gravely wrong. But now, you are wrong too. She imprisoned you with words, and you are keeping the prison locked with your resentment. As long as you do not forgive, you remain trapped." The man resisted for a while, but finally he understood. The forgiveness was not for his mother, it was for him. And when he finally forgave, something shifted. A lightness he had never known took over his life. Padre Pio taught a specific process of healing for children who carried maternal curses. The first step was to identify the specific curses. What exactly did your mother say that still echoes in you? Are you dumb? Will you never amount to anything? Will no one ever love you? Identify each one. The second step was to renounce those curses, to say aloud, preferably before a crucifix, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I renounce the curse that I am dumb. That word has no more power over me. I reject it. I break it." Padre Pio insisted that this renunciation be done aloud. The curses had been spoken aloud. The renunciation should be too. There was power in the voice. There was power in the verbal declaration. The third step was to receive the truth of God in substitution for the lie of the curse. If the mother said, "You are dumb," now the person should declare, "God made me in his image. God does not make dumb things. I am intelligent because God created me intelligent." Padre Pio recommended that these declarations of truth be written and read every day. The lie had been repeated many times. The truth needed to be repeated even more times to overlay it. The fourth step was forgiveness, which we have already mentioned. Forgiving the mother not because she deserved it, but because it was necessary for liberation. And the fifth step was vigilance. The old voices tend to come back. When the person least expects it, they hear again in their mind, "You are a failure." In those moments, it is necessary to immediately reject the voice and replace it with the truth. That is not true. I am who God says I am. Padre Pio warned that this process could take time. Deep curses do not disappear overnight, but with persistence, with faith, with prayer, they lose power. The truth gradually replaces the lie. The light gradually expels the darkness. Padre Pio also revealed something surprising about inherited curses. He taught that some curses pass from generation to generation. The grandmother cursed the mother cursed the daughter will curse the grandchildren. It is a cycle that can last centuries if it is not broken consciously. He saw this in families, patterns of destructive words that were repeated generation after generation. Mothers who said the same things to their children that their mothers had said to them, not by conscious choice, but by automatic repetition. Breaking this cycle, Padre Pio taught, is one of the most important things a person can do for their family. When you refuse to pass on the curses you have received, you liberate not only yourself, but all future generations. There was a woman who came to Padre Pio, realizing with horror that she was repeating with her children the same words that her mother had said to her, the same cruel expressions, the same insults. She swore she would never be like her mother, and she was becoming exactly the same. Padre Pio explained that this happened because she had never been healed from the curses she received, and unhealed people tend to hurt others in the same way that they were hurt. It is a cycle of pain that perpetuates itself until someone decides to break it. He instructed her to first go through the process of healing her own wounds, forgive her mother, renounce the curses received, receive God's blessings on her identity and destiny, and only then work to avoid repeating the pattern with her children. This woman did the work. It was difficult. It took time, but she managed to break the cycle. Her children grew up hearing blessings, not curses, and they, in turn, will bless their own children. A lineage of curse was transformed into a lineage of blessing. Padre Pio placed great importance on the formal blessing of parents over their children. He taught that in the biblical tradition, the paternal and maternal blessing had real power. Isaac blessed Jacob. Jacob blessed his 12 sons. These blessings were not just pretty words. They were transmissions of grace that shaped destiny. He encouraged mothers to formally bless their children every day, upon waking up, when leaving the house, when going to sleep. A simple but conscious blessing. May God bless you and protect you. May God make his face shine upon you. May God grant you his peace. Or more personal blessings. I bless your intelligence. I bless your health. I bless your relationships. I bless your future. Padre Pio told of a family that adopted this practice. Every night, before going to sleep, the mother made the sign of the cross on the forehead of each child and said a specific blessing to the children after they were adults. That nightly blessing was one of the most precious memories of their childhood, and they did the same with their own children. This family, Padre Pio observed, had a special protection. The children grew up secure, confident, with a solid identity. The daily blessings had created a spiritual fortress, protecting them from life's storms. He also taught about blessing in special moments, on the eve of important tests, before trips, at the start of new jobs, on birthdays, at weddings. These transition moments are particularly important for blessing. A word of affirmation in these moments can make an eternal difference. There was a young man going off to war. His mother, guided by Padre Pio, formally blessed him before he left. She placed her hands on his head and said, "I bless you, my son. May God protect you. May he bring you back to me. May he deliver you from all evil." The young man survived the war. He went through situations that killed many of his comrades, and he always said that his mother's blessing was his shield. He felt the protection. He felt her words surrounding him, and he returned home safe and sound. Padre Pio also warned about curses disguised as concern. They are words that seem to express care, but are actually negative prophecies. "I'm afraid you'll never find someone. I think you're going to get hurt. You're too fragile for the world. I don't know how you'll survive without me." These words come from a place of love, but Padre Pio saw that they had the effect of a curse. They program the child for failure, for fragility, for dependence. They are curses wrapped in the guise of care. He advised mothers to replace these expressions with words of faith. Instead of, "I'm afraid you'll never find someone," say, "I trust that God will put the right person in your life." Instead of, "You're too fragile," say, "You are stronger than you think. God is with you." The difference may seem subtle, but spiritually it is enormous. One expresses fear and creates a negative reality. The other expresses faith and creates a positive reality. Padre Pio told a story about a mother who was excessively protective. Her son was her only child, and she lived in panic that something would happen to him. This panic was expressed in constant words of worry. "Careful, you'll fall. Don't do that. You'll get hurt. The world is dangerous. You need to be afraid." The son grew up insecure, anxious, unable to take risks. The mother thought she had protected him. In reality, she had cursed him with fear. Her words of worry had created a prison of anxiety. When she understood this, she cried. It had never been her intention to harm her son. She loved him more than anything, but her misguided love had caused real damage. Padre Pio consoled her, but also challenged her. "Now you need to bless what you have cursed. You need to speak words of courage, of trust, of strength. You need to undo what you have done." She did. And slowly, over months and years, she saw her son transform. The anxiety subside, the confidence grow. The words of blessing were doing their work. Padre Pio also spoke about fathers, not just mothers. Paternal words also have great power, especially over sons. But he noted that mothers tended to have more opportunities to speak, to instruct, to correct. They spent more time with their children, and therefore had more opportunities to bless or curse. He advised couples to watch each other. If the mother realizes she's about to say something destructive, the father should intervene gently, and vice versa. Parents should be guardians not only of their children, but also of the words that are spoken about their children. There was a couple who came to Padre Pio with this specific problem. The husband tended to explode in anger and say terrible things to the children. The wife was paralyzed, not knowing what to do. Padre Pio instructed her to intervene immediately every time this happened, to say to her husband, "Stop, these words cannot be said." And then, in front of the children, contradict the father's curse with a blessing. "That's not true," she should say. "You are not useless. You are precious. Your father was angry and said what he shouldn't have said." This immediate intervention diminished the power of the curse. It did not eliminate it completely, but it reduced its impact. And over time, the husband began to better control his outbursts, knowing that his wife would contradict him. Padre Pio also warned about the danger of curses said between the parents themselves. When the mother curses the father in front of the children, when she says he is useless, a failure, she is not only hurting her husband, she is hurting the children too, especially the sons who identify with the father. If the father is a failure, what does that say about me? Who is his son? Similarly, when the father belittles the mother, the children are also hurt, especially the daughters. If the mother is despicable, what does that say about me, who am her daughter? Padre Pio saw couples who destroyed their children not directly, but indirectly through the words they said about each other. The fight was between the parents, but the victims were the children. You have just learned profound truths about the power of maternal words that Padre Pio revealed throughout his ministry. Truths that can free entire families from cycles of curses. Each video like this requires research into the testimonies of Padre Pio's spiritual children, into the records of his guidance in the confessional booth, into the accounts of those whose lives he transformed. It is a work of bringing to light truths that can heal wounds of generations. If these truths about words and curses have touched your heart, the super thanks down there is a way for you to participate in this mission. It's not just financial support. It's you saying that these truths need to reach more families, that more mothers need to learn to bless instead of curse. When you click on that golden heart, you become an instrument to carry this message to more souls. Now let me share what you can do today to start this healing process. If you are a mother and recognize that you have said words of cursing to your children, do this now. Stop. Recognize. Do not justify. Do not minimize. Say to God, "I have sinned with my words," and begin the process that Padre Pio taught. Confession, request for forgiveness, conscious blessing, prayer of liberation. If you are a son or daughter and carry wounds from maternal words, do this now. Decide to forgive, not because your mother deserves it, but because you deserve to be free. Renounce the curses you received. Say in your heart, "These words do not define me. They were lies. I am who God says I am." If you realize you are repeating the pattern with your own children, stop now. Today, in this moment, decide that the cycle ends with you, that your children will grow up hearing blessings, that the next generation will be different. And if you want to replace curses with blessings, start with these words that Padre Pio suggested to parents. "I bless you, my child. God loves you. I love you. You are precious in God's eyes. You have a future full of hope. You are capable, intelligent, strong. I am proud of you. You are a blessing in my life." Say these words. Say them every day. Say them until they replace all the other words that have been said. Say them until they become the voice your child hears when they think of themselves. Padre Pio promised that whoever did this work would see fruit, not immediately, perhaps. Curses took years to create their effects. Blessings may take time to undo those effects, but they work, they heal, they liberate. Now, I need to hear from you. Team guarding my words versus team I've said things I regret. Which one are you on? If you're a mom and recognize you need to change how you speak to your children, share that. If you're a child and carry wounds from words, share that too. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start their own healing. And if you're going to start consciously blessing your family today, share that too. Share what you're going to say. Share who you're going to say it to. Your public commitment might be exactly the encouragement you need. Padre Pio used to say that the tongue is the smallest organ in the body, but it can cause the greatest damage or the greatest healing. The choice is ours. Every word we say is a seed. We can plant thorns, or we can plant flowers. We can curse, or we can bless. Choose to bless. Choose life. Choose to be an instrument of healing in the lives of those you love. Pray, wait, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer. May Saint Padre Pio intercede for you and your family. May Our Lady, the Mother who never spoke a word of cursing, teach you to bless. And may every word that comes out of your mouth from today onward be an instrument of grace. God's blessing be with you. Amen.